So this is absolutely not the topic that I thought we would be diving into in any capacity, really, in any of these videos. Because today, we are going over some apparent Vancouver Canucks-related drama, and we're also going to be talking about the latest on Brock Boeser, because apparently, according to some sources, maybe the door in Vancouver for Brock is not 100% closed. It is close to being closed, maybe like 95, 96, 97%, but, it's interesting. There actually might be a possibility that he does come back. Let's start out with the more, you know what, do we want to start out with the drama? Nah, let's save that to the end here. Instead, let's talk about the Vancouver Canucks and Brock Boeser, because there was an article published by Preston Hodgkinson from dailyhive.com 2 days ago, talking about the Vancouver Canucks and how they might not be done with Boeser after all. This will be linked in the description if you want to dive into it yourself, but there are some comments made by Rick Dhaliwal on Halford and Brough from last week that are written about and published here. The full audio hit is a pretty good hit. There's a conversation about Demko, there's a talk about the rest of the Canucks and what it is that they have to do here, but this is what Dhaliwal says about the Canucks and Brock. Vancouver still keeps in contact with his agent. They're showing interest, but it does sound like Boeser wants to test the market on July 1st. If things don't go his way, I get the feeling that Boeser would be willing to talk to Vancouver again. And that is potentially the Brock Boeser development that we did not even feel was remotely possible from all the other discourse we had heard. The fact that this guy wanted a certain amount of term and he wasn't given it, Vancouver gave him an $8 million by 5-year deal, and Brock wanted more than that. He didn't want maybe necessarily a higher dollar amount, but the term, that was the issue here. Dhaliwal also expanded on this last Friday on the show. Term is the big issue with Boeser. It's not money. Are teams going to give him 7 years? The Canucks are at 5 years. Teams won't have issues giving Boeser $8 million. It's the term that most teams are going to haggle over. Expect Brock to check the market, but I would not rule out re-signing in Vancouver if Boeser can't get what he wants elsewhere, and if the Vancouver Canucks cannot land the top 6 piece by July 1st. Now, that's not all, because there also was the fact that Brock Boeser felt like he was disrespected by Vancouver, according to Dhaliwal. That still looms large, but the player understands that Vancouver might be the only place he can get what he wants on his next deal. He may not get what he wants on July 1st. I've been told everything is on the table right now. There has been contact between the Canucks and Brock Boeser. Vancouver is in desperate need for another top 6 forward, and Brock Boeser is the most obvious target out there. Prices are sure to be high in a talent star free agent market, but Boeser is coming off of a disappointing season. And so, with that, it does paint a different picture than we had expected here. Now that Dhaliwal's going out there and talking about how teams might not be willing to give Brock the term that he wants on the free agent market, at that point, does he decide, okay, darn it, maybe I can just go back to Vancouver, I'll sign for 5 years, oh man. Like, if Patrik Allvin is able to get this gamble to work out, if this was the big brain play all along, if he was talking to other teams at the trade deadline and they were saying, yeah, we want to take on Boeser and we'll re-sign him to a 3-year deal. If Brock was really never in that spot to get a long-term contract and Patrik Allvin just outsmarts everybody by saying, okay, yeah, walk, go to free agency, try to get what you want elsewhere. We know you won't, so when you don't, come back to us and we'll give you the contract that we had given you already. If that's the play, then, I mean, props to Patrik Allvin for pulling off the impossible, eh? Actually bringing back the guy that everybody thought was going to leave, not because the guy wants to leave, but because the guy wants more years? I was already saying it before, but like 5 years, pretty okay amount for Brock, I feel. $8 million, that's a lot, though. So the fact that Brock already rejected that, indicating that he wanted more money in total, like, per a set amount of years, like that does feel a little bit fishy. And even though there will be teams that won't be afraid to give Brock maybe 8.5 something million, if they're just not willing to go to that 7-year mark, then I do wonder if Vancouver becomes maybe a more underrated destination than we had thought here. For what it's worth, Dhaliwal did speak out on Donnie and Dolly earlier today and talked about a bunch of other teams, Senators, Flyers, Kings, Bruins, Minnesota. It's not money that's the issue here, Dhaliwal says, it's the term. So whether or not any of those teams are willing to go 7 years, that becomes the biggest, most important question of it all. Brock Boeser, might I remind you, is already in a pretty interesting spot because he's 28 years old. If he wants a contract till he's 35, then okay, that's great. But he is in a spot where he has gotten slower, and maybe some of his goal scoring hasn't been as refined as it's been in the past. If he is already declining, then okay, it would make total sense why teams would not be willing to give this guy 7 years on whatever contract it is that he ends up getting. Right? They want to keep themselves at a minimum risk situation. They're not going to sign up to get the guy that they know is going to fizzle out a little bit early. So, for Brock, if he ends up taking a little bit of a discount on those years, maybe Vancouver is a destination one more time. I'd seen some other Canucks fans going out there and talking about the possibilities here. Like, hey, if the Canucks are able to get Marco Rossi, and they keep Brock Boeser, and they keep the D-core together, is that not, like, a lot better than we thought this team would look like compared to maybe a few weeks ago? Right? I mean, look, you add Rossi, you keep Boeser, those are 2 top 6 forwards right there. Add on Elias Pettersson, Jake DeBrusk, and then whomever else, and your top 6 doesn't look as abysmally bad as we thought it would. Yeah, sure. You talk about the losses of Miller and Bo Horvat and Andrei Kuzmenko and these other guys, that definitely does sting, but the D-core is a lot better, so I guess there's that, right? If you want to sacrifice the Myers, Soucy, Noah Juleson, Desharnais defensive inadequacies, you can flip everything around. You can go from a strong forward core and that atrocity of a D-core to a very strong D-core and some subpar top 6 forwards. But now the Canucks are going to have to try to balance it out, maybe try to get some top 6 forwards coming back to Vancouver. I'll tell you what is happening in Vancouver, though, that also is a lot more dire. This is a very strange update and one that I don't think anybody else really had on their radar coming up anytime soon. Taj went out there and made this tweet talking about a Frank Seravalli quote from the DFO pod yesterday. Frank Seravalli had some drama to unveil with the Canucks, saying that there is an ongoing battle behind the scenes right now between the Aquilini family. It's not over control of the team because Francesco is going to maintain that, but they have to buy out Paolo Aquilini. It has been ongoing, and it probably won't get settled until the start of the season. Whatever that means, I don't know. But Taj also went out there and tweeted this. Canucks talk yesterday. Thomas Drance said he heard some interesting rumors locally today related to this Aquilini stuff. He doesn't feel comfortable reporting them just yet, though. So this is maybe another element of Vancouver Canucks drama that we can just kind of sink our teeth into over the next little while as more info starts to get revealed. Leave it to Frank Seravalli, though, to be the guy that does break this. Like, oh yeah, this is happening in Vancouver. Aquilini family's fighting. It's like the Capulets and the Montagues over here. I don't know. Like, I'm just kind of tossing some ideas out there, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this Brock Boeser update and how the door is not completely closed on Brock potentially returning to Vancouver. And also, what are your thoughts on this apparent Aquilini drama presented by Frank Seravalli? Do you think there's more than meets the eye? I guess we'll just have to wait and see, right? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on, and bye.